Ist ein Vers dran, ja? Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihare Gopichana Ballabha Girivardhare Gopichana Ballabha Girivardhare Yasodanandana Vrajachana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vrajachana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Vihare Gopichana Ballabha Girivardhare Yasodanandana Vrajachana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihare Gopichana Ballabha Girivardhare Gopichana Ballabha Girivardhare Yasodanandana Vrajachana Ranjana Yamunatira Chare Yamunatira Vanachare Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Simhachalam Prabhupada Ki Iskon Samsavakachaya Prabhupada Ki Ananda Gudi Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Thakur Ki Jai Prem Saga Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasa Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Gichay Vrindavandam Gichay Mathuradam Gichay Narvitam Gichay Gongamai Gichay He Yamunamai Gichay Tulasi Devi Gichay Bhakti Devi Gichay Samaveda Bhaktan Gichay Gaura Premanande. All glories to the Samari devotees, all glories to the Samari devotees, all glories to the Samari devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Gauranga, all glories to Shri Prabhupada. So we continue with the Bhagavad Gita. We're reading from the 6th chapter, verse 31, no? What is that? Huh? 32. Okay. Okay. Yeah, this is Maha, no? Yeah. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Admopayena Sarvatra Samam Pashyati Yorjuna Sukham Yayadi Vadukham Sayogi Paramomataha Admaupayena Sarvatra Samam Pashyati Yorjuna Sukham Vayadi Vadhukham Sayogi Paramomataha. Jasi Yorjuna Sukham Vayadi Vadukham Yogi Paramomataha. Ladies. Samam Pashyati Yorjuna Sukham Vayadi Vadukham Sayogi Paramomataha. Admopayena Sarvatra Samang Pashyati Yorjuna Sukham vayadiva dukham sayogi paramo mataha nadhamitra Yojuna Sukham vayadiva dukham yogi paramo mataha Atma with his self anupamyena by comparison sarvatra everywhere samam equally pashyati sees ya he who Arjuna sukham happiness va or yadi if va or dukham distress sa such yogi a transcendentalist parama perfect mata is considered. Translation: he is a perfect yogi who by comparison to his own self sees the true equality in all beings and both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. One who is Krishna conscious is a perfect yogi. He is aware of everyone's happiness and distress by dint of his own personal experience. The cause of the distress of a living entity is forgetfulness of his relationship with God. And the cause of happiness is knowing Krishna to be the supreme enjoyer of all the activities of the human being, the proprietor of all lands and planets, and the sincerest friend of all living entities. The perfect yogi knows that the living being who is conditioned by the modes of material nature is subjected to the threefold material miseries due to forgetfulness of his relationship with Krishna. And because one in Krishna consciousness is happy, he tries to distribute the knowledge of Krishna everywhere. Since a perfect yogi tries to broadcast the importance of becoming Krishna conscious, he is the best philanthropist in the world. And he is the dearest servitor of the Lord. Na cha tasman manushyeshu kashyami priyakitamaha. Bhagavad Gita 18:69. In other words, the devotee of the Lord always looks to the welfare of all living entities. And in this way, he is factually the friend of everyone. He is the best yogi because he does not desire perfection in yoga for his personal benefit, but tries for others also. He does not envy his fellow living entities. He is a contrast between a pure devotee of the Lord and a yogi interested only in his personal elevation. The yogi who has withdrawn to a secluded place in order to meditate perfectly may not be as perfect as a devotee who is trying his best to turn every man toward Krishna consciousness. Admaopayena sarvatra samam pashyati yojuna sukham yayadi vadukham sayogi paramo mataha. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress. O Arjuna, Om Maginati Vinandasya Gunanjana Sulakaya Chaksumuritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Madhavustam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dudati Swavadantikam. So here we hear about the perfection of yoga. Now it says here that the perfect yogi is not only interested in his own welfare, but in the welfare of all other living entities. So Prabhupada mentions, and the verse actually says here, both. He sees the quality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress. Happiness means there has been some pious activities, there's some good karma, and suffering or unhappiness or distress, like it says here, is due to bad karma, contrary activities to the divine order, to the laws of God. So there's different kinds of karma. Karma actually also refers to pious activities. One is gradually elevating himself to higher platforms. Then it's vikarma. Vikarma means contrary to the laws of God. And that means he's creating a lot of because of time has to suffer. And then there's akarma. Akarma. Akarma means there's no reaction to those kinds of activities. And not only that, akarma also refers to activities that help us to purify ourselves of all the accumulated karma within the heart. Actually, there's so many seeds of karma within the heart of the conditioned souls that keeps them going from body to body to body. Anyway, so this is what is described here. Actually, real yoga means to become elevated, to become purified. And our biggest problem here is not that we're suffering temporarily or that we're not had enough money or anything like that. But our most important problem is that we are forced to take birth again. So we're completely entangled with the circle of birth and death. And this is can only be understood by good guidance or by good association with devotees who know the purpose of life. Just like anyway, so this is what the Vedanta Sutra also says. And there's a nice verse in Bhagavad Gita. Bahunam jamanamante gyanavanam papadyante vasudeva samamiti samahatma sudulabha. After many, many births, a fortunate soul, or first a person who has actually achieved real knowledge, surrenders to me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is, and such a great soul, Samahatma, Sadulabha, such a great soul is very, very difficult to find. It's like I mentioned the other day, the first thing is that a fortunate soul feels some attraction, or has some faith, and starts to search. Like most of our devotees, or people who became devotees, they were actually on a search. They were already searching for some solution to the material problems and all that. So, Ado Shraddha. Ado Shraddha. In this way we get in touch with devotees, or we get a book, or we find some Hare Krishna program on internet. There's so many programs, so many conferences, and so many things going on nowadays. So in this way, atato brahmajikyas. After many, many births, one should, the Vedanta Sutra says that we should start asking important questions. Atato brahmajikyas. With relationship with the supreme truth, the Brahman. Vadanti tat vavidam tad vam yat jnanam atman prameti paramameti bhagavaniti shabhyate. And this truth is realized in different stages. In the form of the impersonal Brahman, in the form of the Paramatma within the heart, and if one is very fortunate, one also understands, starts realizing the position of Krishna, Supreme Personality of God. So this is the purport. No, Prabhupada gives a lot of attention in the purport here to a real yogi, advanced yogi, who's not just interested in his own well-being, but by seeing the condition of the conditioned souls everywhere, he feels compassion and tries to help. Compassion. This is actually a very important quality of devotees. It says that the Tikshava Karunika Surita Ajata Shatrava Shantim Sadava Sadhubhushana. That means he's humble. A sadhu, a saintly person is humble. He feels compassion to other living entities. He's Ajata Shatru. He has no enemies in his social, environment. I just heard Prabhupada say, like the Goswamis, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they were known, for not having any enemies, and they could associate with anybody, and everybody in Vrindavan felt very comfortable by being them, and they were all ready to help them like that. And they were living in a very, very simple way. They didn't even have a house. It says that they at night, they just slept under a different tree. And in this way, they were only clad in their underwear and a cloth. That was all. There's a story that I just remember regarding Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana or Rupa Goswami? I don't remember. Anyway, so Sanatana Goswami was sitting, chanting the holy names on the beach, little elevated on the side of the Yamuna. And he saw, there was a merchant coming in with his boat, a big load. The load was covered like that. And then he saw how the boat got stuck. And the boatman became he was in anxiety how to take the boat out of this condition. And then Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami gave him some advice how to take the boat out. And in the end, when he had taken the boat out of this complication, he wanted to give a donation to Sanatana Goswami. The story is a little longer. It starts with that he was worshipping a deity in the tree. He didn't have an altar. He hung the deities on in the tree. And every day, he offered some bhoga. And it says that he would always offer chapatis, just dry chapatis. And one day, the deity said, but look, you're always giving me dry chapatis, not even offering salt. And anyway, he didn't know what to do, how to get salt and all that. And in the end, when he helped the boatman to get the boat out of this complication, he discovered that the boatman he wanted actually to give the whole load to Sanatana Goswami, and it consisted of salt. Anyway, so in this condition, wasn't there also the deity? There was a deity also, no? Involved in the salt, wasn't it? Yeah, right. No? And this was Sanatan, right? Yeah, Sanatan. No? He actually constructed a very beautiful temple, on the side of the Yamuna. It's done all of red sandstone. How do you say? Red stone. Very beautiful. You can still go there and see the temple. Anyway, so Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and the rest of the Goswamis, as it says here, the really advanced devotees, they're not only interested in their own benefit, but they're very interested in helping others. And this was actually the line that was introduced to us by Srila Prabhupada. Just like Prabhupada, he was actually living in Vrindavan. Actually, he was very comfortable in that place. Somebody had given him a room in one temple, where he was living, like that. And I think I mentioned it the other day, also Prabhupada became known in Vrindavan. People started respecting him very much. And but still, Srila Prabhupada saw there were great difficulties, and he wanted to help the conditioned souls. And in this way, Prabhupada accepted so many austerities, to go to the West. Just like, the Lilamrita has mentioned that he had 3 heart attacks. How do you say? 3 heart attacks. No, actually 2. And Prabhupada mentioned that if he would have had another one, he would have left his body. And there's a detail there also that after that happened, the ocean became very, very tranquil. How is it? Very peaceful. So when they finally they arrived in Boston, the captain and his wife, they said to Prabhupada, maybe you should travel more with us, so the ocean becomes so peaceful. We never experienced the ocean so peaceful. Anyway, and so in this also, when Prabhupada then started in New York, there were so many difficulties, so many problems. I was anyway, so I met a person once. This was in Finland. Did I tell this already? I was in Finland, and we were preaching in Poland. So we always went to Finland to collect, and then go back to Poland. And in Finland, we had befriended an Indian man. He was also into yoga and all this, and he had a little business there. Anyway, a shop. So we used to store our books and all the stuff that we didn't need on our travels in his place. And one day, we got there, and there was another older Indian gentleman. Like he looked like a kind of also into spiritual life. Anyway, so our friend, the Indian, said, these are 2 disciples of Bhaktivedanta Swami. And then the man said, oh, Bhaktivedanta Swami. I know Bhaktivedanta Swami. So I immediately asked him, how do you know Prabhupada? Tell us something about Prabhupada. Because at one point, sometimes Indians come and say, oh, I know Prabhupada, I know Bhaktivedanta Swami, just to impress you, kind of. So I asked, tell us something about Srila Prabhupada. What's Prabhupada doing when you met him? Oh, he said, yes, I was in Dr. Mishra's ashram in, what is the name of the, Dr. Mishra, no? Mishra? Yeah, in New York. I was living there. I was teaching yoga with him also. And that's how I got to know Bhaktivedanta Swami. So we were kind of very anxious to hear more. And then, so what was he doing? And he said, he was a very good cook. We know from the Lilamrita that Prabhupada had some problems with Dr. Mishra because he was an impersonalist and Prabhupada was a Vaishnava. And sometimes devotee said that sometimes because the discussion was very heavy, but because it was in Hindi, they couldn't figure out what it was about. But then when he said she was a very good cook, we remembered that actually when Prabhupada had come there and he was living in this ashram, then at one point also the Dr. Mishra had forbidden him to speak to his disciples. And so Prabhupada continued cooking. And I think he must have also continued chanting the holy names. But after that, Prabhupada left. But anyway, so this was a little piece of information. That Prabhupada was a very good cook. This is how he impressed the people there. Anyway, and why did Prabhupada cook for them? Because he actually wasn't cooking ordinary food. He was actually preparing prasad. That's one of the first things that Prabhupada taught us. Not to eat anything that is not prepared by devotees. Anyway, so, and Prabhupada was very, very eager that the prasadam would be distributed everywhere. Anyway, so Prabhupada started under great difficulties, and also at one point, the first devotees, they got him an apartment. Not an apartment, a shop actually, and an apartment. I don't know if anybody has gone. Have you been in New York? No. Anyway, this is a very little shop. The first shop that Prabhupada got. The matchless gift shop. So the very, how you say, eng, what is that? Eng? Narrow. Huh? Very narrow, long room, like very, very narrow. And at the end, they have put a Vyasa there for Srila Prabhupada, a very picture, and there's also pictures on the walls, Prabhupada and 2nd Avenue, in this place, matchless gift. Anyway, so we went there once, and there was a temple president, or the person in charge. He was actually a German. He had become a devotee in America. So he showed us around. He also took us to the Tompkins Square Park, like this. And also we did some Harinam there. And then he also told us some stories about Srila Prabhupada. He told us, for example, that Prabhupada at the very beginning, he was all alone. He used to go out shopping and things like that. So it says that, he told us that he went to a little shop, and he, like you do, you get a container, you put all the stuff in there, and then you go to the cash box, so they can charge you the money, corresponding money. And so Prabhupada came, he went up to the cash box, and the lady just looked, and it's so much, like that. And Prabhupada said, no, it's so much. He gave his own price. Like people do in India, it's very common. And then, so the lady couldn't figure out it. She repeated, well, no, it's actually this. No. And then Prabhupada again said, no. And then she looked at him. Wow. And she was very impressed by Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, and she thought, well, maybe he's a foreigner, he doesn't have much experience living here, he doesn't know. And she gave him a reduction, because she felt compassion with Srila Prabhupada. And at that time, Prabhupada also wrote a diary. Was it? Yeah, diary. And it's actually a big book, with photos of that time, and also there's also anyway. So the diary is very interesting. Prabhupada said, today somebody gave $1 donation. And I spent 30 cents for a postmark, for a letter like that. And also he spoke about today a few people came, and so he's continued to come like that. Anyway, so in this condition, Srila Prabhupada lived. And I heard that, anyway. So, and the first devotees, they're very impressed by Srila Prabhupada. Actually, it says there was a restaurant somewhere, where all these young people went, and they're very much into, subculture and this and that. And then the news came to that restaurant that there was a Swami had come. So they started to go to that shop where Prabhupada had his kirtans. And they used to call, before Srila Prabhupada spoke, he normally did some arti. He was sitting and doing arti. And they started calling this ceremony the bells. Because Prabhupada was talking the bell also. And then Prabhupada made them chant. It says at the beginning, the prasadam that Prabhupada used to give was just a piece of apple. He used to cut an apple and give them out. And so, in due course of time, and then they went out with Srila Prabhupada to the Tompkins Square Park. It's a very special place. Where Prabhupada went there the first time to chant outside. There's a tree that has now grown, it's very big. At the time when Srila Prabhupada went there, he would sit on the grass. And there was a sign, close by there was a sign. It says, don't sit on the grass, don't step on the grass. And so Prabhupada didn't see it, and then police came, and they said, not sitting here. And Prabhupada got up without saying anything, and he just sat on the pavement, on the, how you say it, the way. And he continued chanting. And I remember I went there once, when I went there first to see that place. They told me a story about that place before I went there. Because we had some Sankirtan devotees from Argentina collecting there to buy a temple at that time. Anyway, and they told us that when the leader of our Sankirtan group went there, he actually went all alone, and he went in disguise. He didn't put on dhoti to not call the attention. So he walked around looking for the tree. And there was a group of Hell's Angels, like these guys who, motorbikes and all, dressed in black leather like that. When they saw him, they said, "You're looking for the tree? It's over there." So it's pretty famous, this place. And then anyway, so Prabhupada sat on the grass, but when we went, you couldn't sit on the grass anymore. They had put some zoine, what is that? Fence. Yeah, some fences. Yeah, and on the side of the tree, there's a big sign. The first part of the sign explains what this tree is. It seems special tree, something like the Latin name and all that, kind of. And the second part it says, and under this tree, Bhaktivedanta Swami chanted for the first time in public. And from here he started to expand his movement all over the world. Anyway, in the beginning it was difficult for Srila Prabhupada, but when the devotees started asking him about that time, Prabhupada used to say, "Oh, it was actually nectar." It was ecstatic. And then also, when the first devotees joined in New York, Prabhupada was already thinking how to expand, how to send devotees off. And there was Mukunda, and he told Srila Prabhupada that actually San Francisco, was it? How you say it in English? San Francisco, yeah. San Francisco. Said, "Oh, Prabhupada, there's a lot of young people in San Francisco." He actually referred to the hippies, because Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco had become like the mecca of the hippies at that time in America. And so the Prabhupada said, "Why don't you go there? Go there." And so they started a temple in Haight-Ashbury, actually in the center of all this. The center. And they started making programs, then invited Srila Prabhupada. And then he organized the program, because Mukunda was actually a musician, had been a musician. And he had some contacts there with other musicians. So they organized a place for Srila Prabhupada, where they had there was a place of music. It was a music hall. And so they convinced those people who managed that place to let Prabhupada come there. And Allen Ginsberg also helped with this. And they went with Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada let Allen Ginsberg speak first, because he knew he was a very influential person in this ambient, in this environment. Yeah. And this place, this temple they had gotten, became very famous, very popular. Because whenever the young people pass the night in these clubs and all that, or drugging themselves, then they had this they had to come down from their intoxication. And this place the temple became famous, because they were distributing food without charging. Distributing prasad without charging. And many, many young people used to come every morning to take prasadam at that place. And then at one point, Prabhupada also, inspired by Malati, who had gotten for him a Jagannath deity, small deity. So Prabhupada, when Prabhupada saw that deity, he asked her, "Isn't there any more of these figures?" And she said, "Yes, there's more." And she went, got them, and then Prabhupada inspired Shamasunda. He inspired him to make the first Ratha Yatra. That's how it all started. And that Ratha Yatra was also very, very special. It was not like our Ratha Yatras nowadays. Actually, they only got a lorry, Lastwagen, what is that? Lorry? A truck. They got a truck. With a big platform on the back. There was nothing on the back. They made a little. They put an altar there with Jagannath, and there's a photo, of that. Shamashunda is managing this, driving this truck. On the side, he has his dog. The dog was also there in the Ratha Yatra. And so they they ended the Ratha Yatra on the beach, Malibu. In Malibu, it's Los Angeles or San Francisco. Anyway, so they started there, and then Prabhupada, was chanting with the devotees. And actually, at that instance, he also glorified the ocean, as a tremendous manifestation that Krishna had manifested at that place. And he went from there. Then Shamashunda became Prabhupada's assistant. And Shamashunda was very eager to help Prabhupada expand the movement. And they had heard that the Beatles, they were also interested in yoga. They were, at that time that we were associating with TM, Transcendental Meditation. And they had seen a picture of the Beatles with this, what was the name of the yogi? I don't remember. Maharishi, right, Maharishi. And so they went, 3 couples, Gurudas, Shamashunda, and Mukunda, with their wives. Prabhupada brought them he called them to Canada because his visa had run out. He was trying to get a new visa from America. Anyway, so they all went there, and Prabhupada started training them for their preaching mission in Europe. Prabhupada wanted them to go to London. Like that. So they started there and became very famous. They became very famous. Because Yamuna also started helping designing an underground, how you say, like a hippie paper like that. And also they were invited to the Roundhouse in London, and they started chanting there. At that time, Prabhupada was in Germany, he was in Hamburg. I think I spoke about that the other day, right? So they convinced Prabhupada to break up his visit to Germany and go to London immediately, come, because they had become very famous. And in London, Prabhupada also said that the Indians are our most important allies. And there was a big reception for Srila Prabhupada by the Indians in London. They helped in so many ways. And so, from there, everything started expanding in Europe. Then Prabhupada called Umapati to go to Paris, and he sent Bhagavan and Ajit to Stockholm, and he sent also the first devotees to Paris. It was actually. Anyway, so in this way, the movement has grown. And now, actually Prabhupada had thought in the beginning that if all the young people are looking from India, looking to the West. So if I go to the West, I go to America, and I convince some of these young boys and girls in Krishna consciousness, then they will also start imitating this in India. And that actually happened, it actually worked. When Prabhupada went to, there's a saying, nobody is a prophet in his own country. And Prabhupada has shown us this very nicely. Before Prabhupada went to the West, there was not so much result of his preaching. But then when he came to West, he was received in a different way. Prabhupada had a lot of, qualities that made Prabhupada very attractive. He was an Indian yogi. He was older. He was very learned. He knew a lot of. Actually, was presenting a lot of culture, singing bhajans and cooking and so many other things. Yeah. Anyway, so this all came to the point that Srila Prabhupada went to he became very sick in San Francisco, and then he went to India. He actually mentioned that he wanted to go to India immediately because he was not used to the cold climate in America. So he traveled with Kedananda to India, and he gave Kedananda sannyas in Vrindavan. There's a conversation, like a class that Prabhupada is giving, and he starts talking about the first visit in India, when he traveled with Kedananda. And he said, now, when we went to Vrindavan, and I gave him sannyas, people were very, very impressed, because he was a white sannyasi. And Prabhupada actually said he looked very beautiful. So all people came and tried to touch his feet like that. And there's a story in regards to this also that Harikesh told us once. Harikesh had also been a servant of Prabhupada for a long time. And he said when he was traveling with Srila Prabhupada or going out in the public, many times people came trying to touch the feet of Srila Prabhupada. And at one point there were so many people coming, I think it was because they went to a train station or something. So many people came and tried to touch the feet of Srila Prabhupada. And then they also tried to touch Harikesh's feet, because he was with him. And he kind of tried to get out of the situation, hindering people to touch his feet. And Prabhupada said, be compassionate. At one point, he was bringing Prabhupada to a train. And so they had gotten a special apartment in the train, higher, kind of better class, more expensive, because they didn't want Prabhupada to always be surrounded by the people and all that. They kind of isolate him from the people. So they were just about to close the door of the apartment, and there were two gentlemen out there trying to make eye contact with Srila Prabhupada. So then when Prabhupada saw him, he called them in. And they sat at his feet. And then he spoke to them, and then he said, so what do you want? And then the gentleman said, we want you to bless us. And then Prabhupada many times mentioned that the saintly persons were used for that purpose, to give blessings. And oftentimes they also had some mystic powers to solve some problems, like that. But then Prabhupada said, my blessings are here. And he showed his disciples sitting on the floor, shaved and dressed in devotional clothes. Are you ready for these blessings? So the ladies, the man just got up, and kind of disappeared. And then I remember in another discussion, there was one what is that? Reporter, what is that? Yeah. So he was asking Prabhupada questions. At one point he came to ask Prabhupada, you see God? And Prabhupada said, yes. And the man said, can you show me God? Prabhupada said, yes. Can you show me God now? And Prabhupada said, now first you have to become one of them. He showed his disciples. And then the reporter, when Prabhupada said that, the reporter kind of wanted to go to some other subject matter. And Prabhupada said, you're not serious. Anyway, didn't want to talk to him anymore. Yeah, so this is, Prabhupada gave us the best. Just like it's mentioned here, even the yogis, they're conditioned. They're not, most of the yogis actually fall trap. How you say fall trap? Die gehen in die Falle. when they get some success, because as a byproduct of the yoga process is that you also achieve the yoga siddhis. And you become, well, first of all, you become very influential, and you can actually do things that nobody else can do like that, and they become entrapped, with these sub-products, Nebenprodukte, of their austerities. But, and it's dangerous also. Normally they're not even on the platform of Paramatma, but actually they're more into the impersonal realization. And it says that the impersonal realization, it says a very nice verse in the Bhagavatam where it says that sometimes the impersonal, Nyenya Ravindaksha Vimukta Manina, they think they're liberated. But because their intelligence is not completely purified, they don't understand the necessity to take shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord. That means they don't engage in devotional service. And because of that, because of their, inactivity, and because their heart is not completely purified, they again become attracted to material activities like that. And Prabhupada gives the example. Sometimes he mentioned that sometimes somebody became very, very respected as a yogi or something, right personality. And then after a while they descend and start doing do charity work like opening a hospital or who knows, so many things. Why is this? Because they have not learned how to be active in spiritual, how to occupy in the devotional service. There's a very nice verse which says, anyway, so it's a definition of devotional service. It says that devotional service means that one occupies one's senses in the service of the owner of the senses. You know this verse? Yeah, Rishikesh. Yeah, right, Rishikesh. Yeah. And it says, when the senses become, purified. What is the result again? There was two results mentioned. The senses become purified and something else. I don't remember. Yoginam api. No. Anyway, so this. Bhagavad mentioned, comes to the conclusion in the verse here, that actually the supreme yoga, is devotional service, bhakti yoga. And I noticed, I just saw that in the former verse, it says that Prabhupada's mentioned this verse from the Brahma Samhita. Premanjana chudita bhakti vilochanena satasadeva ridyoyucha vilogyayanti yam shama chandana machundagina swarupam govindam maripurusham tamaham bhajami. It says that to see God, the eyes have to be smeared with the pulp of love. And in this way, actually the yogi gets to realize Krishna within the heart, not as Paramatma, but as Shamashunda. Shamashunda. It says a tree born, the three, how you say this? Die drei Kurven, what is that? Yeah, this, like that. So Shamashunda. Like here we heard in the 6th chapter that the yogi starts realizing Paramatma within the heart. But then Prabhupada quotes here this verse from the Brahma Samhita, saying that actually the Vaishnavas, or those who are occupied or advanced in spiritual life, they're not interested anymore in Paramatma. They actually start realizing Shamashunda within the heart. Yeah. Anyway, so Hare Krishna. Any question? Any commentary? Was sagen? Yeah.
Yes, because of this point that when Prabhupada was asked, "Can you show me God?"
Mm.
But then he said, first you have to become like this. That shows actually that the outward presentation of a devotee was very important for Prabhupada. We see a little bit of contradiction maybe to today, because today sometimes it goes to the other side. Today sometimes we hear, yeah, dress is not so important. We can also chant Hare Krishna in trousers, and we should be more open for the Western culture like this. And in this way we should preach. With this way we should try to spread Krishna.
Yeah, there's not many things nowadays, no? Bridge preaching,
Yeah.
Krishna West,
Yeah.
so many things. But, I mean, we have to be intelligent, you know, to present Krishna consciousness according to time, place, and circumstances. Yeah. Just like I was talking with somebody, was it? I don't know if it was here, telling me that the person was working and he couldn't present himself as a devotee at that place like that. Yeah, according to time, place, and circumstances. Yeah. I know devotees when they have a job or something, and they also hide their kuntis. They put them longer so they're not able to see them like that. Yeah. Often when you have a job somewhere, you know, it's better not to speak so much about your being a devotee, because the more they know, the more they have to yeah. And then, no, when you're not at the job, when it's not so easy to present yourself as a devotee, then you have another program. You know, make a program at your home, or go to the temple like that. Or you can also maybe distribute some prasad at your workplace like that. But these things also often go to an extreme. I know places where I don't want to mention the mood or the name they have, but they sit on the Vyasasan giving class in jeans. Yeah? And have long hair like that. And they think this is the way to present Krishna consciousness. There's many commentaries or letters by Srila Prabhupada. That Prabhupada always insisted that we always keep our hair shaved. Yeah? Yeah. And in the beginning, when Prabhupada came to New York, Brahmananda was a teacher. He was a teacher in the school. And Prabhupada told him, put on tilak when you go to work. And he started going with tilak to work. And what happened? Nothing. They just accepted it. Of course it's America, no? In America it's different. They got so many different things, and you know, even the weirdest thing appears in public, people don't look twice, I say. Because they're used to so many different things. Like Prabhupada, we started walking in New York, you know, and people were not, normal people were not thinking anything. They said, well, okay, you know, there's so many weird things going on there. Until Harigriva met Srila Prabhupada on a morning walk. Yeah? And he asked Prabhupada, are you from India? And Prabhupada said, yes. Are you interested? And then Harigriva revealed that he had already been in India. Yeah? Anyway, so he was very interested. And Prabhupada invited him to his first place. And then Harigriva said, can I also bring my friends? He was living, they had a commune. What is commune? Commune. He was living with Kedanananda and with, I don't remember the name now. Yeah? And he brought them to the temple. And those were the first devotees practically that became, how you say, Prabhupada's followers, Prabhupada's disciples. Anyway, everything has to be seen from the point of the result. No? We have to judge everything by the result. Yeah? If the preaching is more successful in this way, like I told you, we were preaching in the communist countries many years back, and there we also didn't cross the borders with dhoti and everything. We even started putting on wigs. Yeah. But to make a whole philosophy of these things, our philosophy is the philosophy that Prabhupada gave us, and his personal example. Yeah. Like when Prabhupada came to America, I heard that he was also advised, I think it was the Ramakrishna mission. They advised him to, now that you have to come to America, you have to change your dress, you have to learn how to eat with a fork, with a gabel. And Prabhupada's comment was, I didn't come to learn anything, I came to teach. Does that make any sense to your commentary?
Yes.
Out there, devotees have to often adjust themselves to the circumstances they're in. But in the temple, Prabhupada was very strict. Yeah, I have a letter I have on my computer where Prabhupada says, nobody, no, in the temple, no beards and no long hair. Yeah. That was actually the first thing, the first austerity that we accepted. Most of us came with long hair. I was initiated with long hair. Yeah. And when I was initiated, there was a big picture of the Panchatattva on the wall. And when Prabhupada saw me with long hair, when he was giving me the japa, he said, now either you shave or you don't touch your hair anymore. And he pointed to the Panchatattva picture. Yeah. And for many years I thought this was kind of, maybe I imagined that. But then we had a meeting in Mayapur where disciples of Srila Prabhupada were invited to speak about their experience with Srila Prabhupada. They had a stage and we went up there and talked about Prabhupada. And then I was there with Shivananda. And they first called Shivananda to speak. And then all of a sudden Shivananda said, yes, when Prabhupada came to Hamburg, he initiated devotees. And he said there was one boy with long hair, and Prabhupada pointed to the Panchatattva and mentioned it. Wow! I felt like, wow, incredible. It's true. And Jayadvaita Maharaj came to me when we spoke about that. He said, now, he called the devotee who was filming. He said, you have to film this. This is important information. Yeah. And I'm very inspired to hear that the Sankirtan devotees are going out in devotional clothes. This is very nice. Very, very nice. In South America also, many places they go out in dhoti. And because people are very religious, very Catholic, very, very emotional, that kind of, they're very respectful. They respect the devotees very much when they present themselves like that. But here in Germany, it was always a little different. I remember when we started going on the street and chanting Hare Krishna in Hamburg on the street, Harinam. Sometimes, but this was a different time. It was just there was still this generation from the old Germany. Sometimes somebody said, "If Hitler was still here, you wouldn't exist here." That kind of. Yeah. Nowadays, they don't say this anymore because all these people, they already left. Yeah. Yeah, anyway. Any more questions? Or comment? Yes.
I know you preached a lot in South America, Middle America, is that right?
Yeah, all of South America.
Maybe you could share some stories, some extraordinary stories that you experienced there.
I have to think now. Yeah, I came to Harikesh. He sent me to Argentina because I grew up in South America. I speak Spanish, and so when he heard, he went to. Actually, Harikesh had given me a service in Schloss Rettershof of the Bhakti program. I took care of all the new people, and they started sending from all Germany. They sent them the new Bhaktas to Schloss Rettershof at that time. And one day there came a couple, young. He was from Argentina and she was German. They came on a motorbike. She was driving the motorbike and he was sitting in the back. And they became devotees. And at one point, the Argentine devotee told me, "Look, my parents have a big farm in Argentina. What can we do with this?" From the point of Krishna consciousness. And I didn't think much. I just said, "Do it in the service of Krishna." And he went back. And he started preaching to his mother, a very rich lady. And he started preaching to his mother. She became a devotee also. And then Harikesh, he invited Harikesh to come to visit. And at that time, our movement, ISKCON, was prohibited. And these countries like Chile, Uruguay, Paraguay, Argentina, they were all military dictatorships. And we were forbidden. They forbade us. So then he invited Harikesh, so Harikesh went there. And he became so inspired by this farm, such a big farm. They had wild horses there and a lot of other things like that. And then he asked this Bhakti Shakti, his name was, he asked him, who can we send here? So he said, send Suchandra. This was my brahmachari name. So he came back, and then he got me on the phone. He wanted to know and see if I really spoke Spanish. He had me spoke with somebody. And I had just opened a temple in Berlin. And then Harikesh said, now go immediately to Argentina. Get only, just one way to Argentina. Anyway, so I went to the airport. I went to shave, paturi and everything, tilak. And then when they found out I had only the way there, not back. They started arguing, you cannot, and I started preaching to them, and blah, 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 and they said, oh, okay, go. But we're not responsible, We're not responsible for what happens over there, So, then also Harikesh had told me, now you take a madanga, you take a pair of kartas, because they have nothing. There's only 2 or 3 devotees living in some cellar, beside in Buenos Aires, the capital. And anyway, so I went. And like I said, we were forbidden. So we started to do some preaching underground, like I had learned in the communist countries before. And we just started. And they started inviting us different places, but we never spoke about openly about all these confidential philosophy. But we also only made them chant Hare Krishna, but always with closed doors and secretly like that. Anyway, so it all started over there, and then all of a sudden they had this war for the Falkland Islands with the British. There was war. And they already started calling the devotees to do military service, to go fight the British like that. And then they had already enlisted some devotees to do their military service. And so all of a sudden the war ended. And the British, of course, they took over Falkland again. And they changed the government. They had a democratic government. They had elections. And as soon as the government, the military government was off, we all shaved. We went on the street chanting Hare Krishna, and people were dancing with that because everyone is dancing because of this event. Yeah. So then we started printing books also, because we couldn't import books, and just it all started like that. And at that time, so many young people became devotees over there. Yeah, because it was such a difference. They had lived under the military government for a long time, and all of a sudden, they saw us also doing that, doing what we were doing like that. And so many young people became devotees. Yeah. And we started opening temples in different places, different cities. And also in Chile, same thing happened. But in Chile it was different. Because Pinochet was, his philosophy was the best, bulwark against the communism is religion. So he approved all kinds of religions, also Hare Krishna. Anyway, so we started over there, and is there anything specific you want to know? No? Yeah.
There was this story with the books you mentioned once, that in the war the government...
Oh yeah. Yeah, the devotees had bought books. No? This was before the government took over, the military government took over. No? So there was a big shipment of books that came, and it stayed in the customs. So many things stayed in the customs when the government changed all of a sudden. And then after the military government disappeared, they started, versteigern, what is that? Yeah, they're selling things that they had. Huh? An auction, auction. They made auctions. And one day, one man came to the temple, and his daughter had bought a book on Sankirtan. And so she showed it to her father. And he said, "Look, this seems to be the same thing, like the books you have bought at the auction like that." So he came to the temple, and he offered the books. And I was running the BBT at that time, and I told him, "Look, these books are too expensive. But you can help us to distribute them. No? This is our mission. Maybe you can help us to distribute the books." And and so another friend had bought the other part of the books that were there. So then and I didn't buy them. No? So then after a while he came back, ready to receive any price because he couldn't sell them anywhere. And then his friend also came, and he also brought the books, and we actually pushed the price down more, further. Yeah, this is his story. You heard that before?
Yeah, you told me.
Oh, yeah.
And the meaning is that Krishna wants that the devotees are distributing books.
Yeah. Yes. And also when Prabhupada disappeared, this 177, the devotees had just been prohibited. And so, anyway, the devotees didn't even know they were prohibited. All of a sudden they read it in the newspapers that the Hare Krishna had been prohibited. So devotees grabbed the deities and a tulsi plant, and they took them on the plane and went to Brazil. To Rio de Janeiro, yeah, and so the deity stayed there a long time, and then so when the government changed, devotees wanted to bring back the deities, so one devotee went and got them, and when he arrived in Buenos Aires at the airport, I went there to receive him. And so they started opening his bags and all this. And he had put the deities in a Aktenkoffer. What is that?
Suitcase?
Little thing. Yeah. And he didn't put it on the base, he put it down there, so they didn't see it. So I saw that, and I just walked in that zone. And I grabbed the little briefcase, and I just walked out, and nobody stopped me. Nobody saw it. And this way the deities came back to Buenos Aires. Yeah, anyway. Huh?
Krishnas Nutzen. Also was Krishna immer so arrangiert, das ist unwahrscheinlich, ja. Ich habe zum ersten Mal in Hamburg auf der großen Bergstraße mich die Hare Krishnas angesprochen. Das war kurz nach der Grenzöffnung, so 1991 ungefähr, ja. Ja, die sind aber nett, habe ich mich mit denen unterhalten und hatte die Bhagavad Gita schon in der Hand, wollte ich eigentlich kaufen, aber da war ja das Bild vorne drauf vom Krieg. Ich sage, auch vom Krieg möchte ich nichts wissen, habe wieder zurückgegeben. Ach, das ist nicht so. Ach, ich denke, die werden durch ihr Buch loswerden. Und 3 Jahre später hat mein Mann ein Ding bekommen und hat die ganzen Bücher in der Schweiz dann bestellt. Der Krishna, der arrangiert das immer, was man haben will. Er hatte immer gesagt, nein, das ist nicht mein Zuhause, hier stimmt alles nicht. Ja? Und dann war er so froh mit den Büchern. Aber bei mir hat das ein bisschen länger gedauert, denke ich. Ich habe das zwar alles so gemacht.
Ja. Als Sankirtan, die Devotees wissen wir, dass jedes Buch schon sein Destinatario hat. Wie sagt man das in Deutsch? Schon einen Empfänger hat. Wie sagt man? Hier. Oder? Manchmal kaufen Leute die auf der Straße und verstehen nichts, denken, lassen die irgendwo liegen, oder zu Hause hinlegen. Und jemand anderes der Familie ist überrascht und fängt an zu lesen und wird Devotee. Oder?
Ja.
Ja.
Vijay Prabhu sagt das auch. Er sagt, auf jedem Buch steht eigentlich schon der Name drauf, nur wir können das nicht sehen.
Ja. Ja.
Und im Fernsehen haben sie 1967 oder 68 gesagt, in der Tagesschau, und ein Inder erobert die Jugend von Amerika. Alle Hippies liegen ihm zu Füßen. Und das heißt Prabhupada gesehen. Und das fing ja dann aber 30 Jahre oder 40 Jahre später erst dann ein, ja, bezogen wir selber. Ja, also, und so toll beschrieben alles von Prabhupada, ja.
Ja, und diese Bücher sollten wir nicht nur für uns selber aufbewahren, sondern wir sollten diese Bücher zugänglich machen für die größte Zahl der Menschen. Oh, I spoke in Deutsch. Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay. Anything else? You want to say something? What called your attention? Anything you remember? No? What called your attention? Anything you remember of what I spoke about? Huh?
Fortunate, mention this. Prabhupada said that such and such a person is fortunate.
Yeah.
This caught my attention because I reflected a little bit about it. You can even join the temple, you can become like act as a devotee, you can do a lot of service, but to be really fortunate is to really make that change in the heart. It seems like that's there's some reason why we're still rotating in this material world.
Yeah.
Fortunate and like not fortunate.
Yeah, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu compares us with the Bhakti Lata, with that seed of devotional service. You receive the seed. And as you start, how I say, watering it, and actually the watering process is the chanting of holy names, and the plant grows more and more, like that. As soon as when you become inspired by the association of devotees to pick up devotional service, you just have to continue. Utsaha nishtaya dat karma pavartana. Utsaha. Utsaha means be enthusiastic and make effort. How you say? Bemühe dich mit Vertrauen. What is that in English?
Endeavor with faith.
Yeah, and endeavor with faith. Yeah. 6 principles that help us to advance in Krishna consciousness. One of them is also that one should not associate intimately with non-devotees. Yeah, he mentioned it 2 times actually. Yeah. So you are very nicely associated here. I don't know who's. Do you a resident here? No? You also resident here? Or you just here for the course or something like that? Huh?
I'm resident.
Resident, very good. Nice. Since when are you here?
With some breaks in between since last year, February.
Oh yeah, very good. You like it here, huh? And you?
Yeah, I only came for 3 weeks ago, and I sadly have to leave tomorrow, but I definitely come back. It's very nice association. The works are very nice, you learn much, and very inspirational.
And how did you come? Did you receive a book?
Oh, it's a long story.
Ah.
I kind of found out on the internet. So
Oh.
I was looking for some Hinduistic texts, and the first thing which came up was the Srimad-Bhagavatam.
Yeah, very good. This was our first book in Germany, Isha-Upanishad.
Good book, very good.
Yeah. So now you should also give Isha-Upanishad to others. Learn how to give them to others. Oder? Yeah. Okay, so anything else? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Which year was it when you went to Argentina?
81.
81.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the next year I took sannyas.
Oh.
Hare Krishna told me to go to Mayapur. I didn't know anything about it. And when I came to Mayapur,
Yeah, I'm amazed how so many.
you understand German also?
No, just a little bit.
And when were you in Finland? When were you in Finland?
It was in